A little while ago, I widened this doorway from here out to here and then put in these French doors. I'm really happy with the way this turned out. But when I took this portion of the wall out, well, of course there was no flooring here, so I had to put new strips in. Now I'm faced with two problems. These strips are slightly higher than the surrounding floor, and they're a different color. Well, actually, they're completely unfinished. So what I need to do is to level this down and try to match the color and finish. You know what this is? Well, if you said a paint scraper, you'd be absolutely right. I mean, are you wondering why I'd want to use a paint scraper on this job? Well, properly prepared, this tool can do a great job of removing thin layers of wood. And properly prepared means getting it really sharp. Well, in this case, I'm going to bring my sharpening station right to the work site here. So first thing, take the paint scraper, put it in our portable vise here, and tighten it up. Now this is a 10-inch, maybe this is a 12-inch mill file. What I want to do is just pass this along the edge of the blade like this. Now, if you look really closely here, you see how shiny this is all the way across the blade. That means I'm getting a really sharp edge from one side all the way over to the other. Well, this feels pretty sharp. Let's give it a try here. Let's start here in the middle where there's a little bit of a ridge. Now, if it's working right, we should be kind of like peeling off some wood here. See, that's what I want to see there. That's much better, by the way, than dust. That means that we're actually cutting the wood fibers. Now, this is working pretty well, you can see. Kind of almost functioning like a plane. However, I'm going to switch to a different tool right up in here. Now this scraper is much narrower and it has a carbide tip right here, which means it never has to be sharpened. And it's great for getting up into tight spots like this. Now as I'm getting up close to the edge of the board here, I've switched to a smaller scraper. Same idea, same shaped blade, just gives me a little more precise control. Well, I've gone about as far as I can go with the scraper. I gotta tell you, this is a workout. What I want to do now is take a random orbital sander. This is a fairly aggressive sander. I want to smooth everything off, and I want to sand off the finish that was on this one plank right here. But I'm going to be very careful only to sand right up to the edge of this plank. Well, this is coming along just fine. Next step for me is to take some wood filler and fill up some nail holes right here. And then I've got just a couple of places where there's a small gap. Now, my technique for putting in wood filler is to put in enough to fill up the crack or the hole, maybe slightly overfill it, but not much more, because excess just means that stuff you got to sand off. I use a vibrating palm sander with 100 grit paper for the final smoothing. Now it's time to remove any dust on the surface, first with a vacuum and then with a sticky tack cloth made just for this purpose. All right, clean, smooth, and dust-free. Now it's time to put a finish on here. The question is, what color finish? Now, I think these floors have just a clear coating on them, but I'm not 100% sure. So what I want to do is a little test here to kind of give me an idea what this would look like with a clear finish on it before I commit to that. And one way to do that is to put either water or alcohol on the wood and wet it temporarily. I'm going to use the alcohol because it'll evaporate very quickly. Now see, if I just put a clear finish on, that's what it's going to probably look like. As you can see, with just a clear finish, the new wood would be a little lighter or less yellow than the adjacent planks. So I'm going to adjust the color by brushing on some shellac that has been thinned with denatured alcohol. At first, the new wood appears too orange, so I wipe off a bit of the shellac while it's still wet. Well, down to the final step right here. Going to put a clear polyurethane coating on this, and it might impart just a touch of color, but I don't expect very much. I've poured some of it into this container. This is a semi-gloss finish, which is, I think, what's on here, not high gloss. So let's go ahead and brush this on. Oh, yeah. Well, there we go. And you know what? No one is ever going to know that those boards were new arrivals.